can share this with people who might not have signed up or cannot be here today. So, let's see. So what will we talk about? In principle, a short summary of the focus of the think tank, then a little bit more on the format. What is a think tank? What are the aims, objectives, and outcomes? What is the schedule going to be? Especially important, I think, for your logistics. What are the expectations from our side? Some information on travel and accommodation and about the further application process, because this is only the information session. So there will be, or is still an application process with a deadline of May 15th. So may I ask Angel and Kaisha to briefly introduce themselves?
Sure. I can start since my name is first there. Hello, everyone. My name is Kaisa Penttilä. I'm a postdoc researcher affiliated with Hanken School of Economics. I defended my thesis a year ago, last summer, so I'm a very early stage scholar, but I was very happy to be invited to become part of this organizing team. My research interests are really kind of spot on with the think tank as well. So from a theoretical point of view, I'm interested in studying business ecosystems from an industrial networks perspective, and from an empirical side, I'm focused on renewable energy and the energy transition, especially hydrogen and hydrogen derivatives. So very excited to be here and hope to be part of a very good and fruitful collaboration within the think tank. Thank you.
Angel?
Yeah, hi everybody, great to see you. I'm Angel, South Carranza Professor of Strategy and Policy at ESADE Business School in Ramon Llull University. And my previous research in this topic covers essentially interorganizational relations and anything that has to do with organizations coming together and doing things together. So I come from Georg's world as well, and more from the policy and public policy side of things, but go beyond that in particular since I'm in a business school. So we've been studying regulatory networks of different regulatory bodies, advocacy coalitions, intergovernmental institutions, and that sort of thing. So very excited to know you all and to really explore new possibilities and colleagues, and also to expand beyond my traditional focus of research. Thanks.
Thanks, Angel. So a few words about Stefan Leixnering. Stefan is the Deputy Director of the Research Institute for Urban Management and Governance at the BU Vienna. He got his doctorate degree also from Vienna, and his main research interests are on organizational governance, the emergence of organizational forms, cross-sector collaborations, management of inter-organizational arrangements in the public sector, and collective decision-making in crisis. And he also works on the so-called twin transition of digitalization and sustainability and the sharing economy. I, for myself, I've been working on networks in different forms and shapes since my dissertation in 2000. Started with the background more on policy networks, and then moved here to Tilburg, which is in a Department of Organization Studies. So I broadly look at interorganizational networks, whether they are what we would call system-oriented. Basically a group of organizations that try to achieve something, but not necessarily share a goal. And we as analysts sort of draw the network boundaries up to really networks as organizational forms, so-called purpose-oriented networks. And very excited to hopefully bring together interdisciplinary group here next year in Tilburg to work, I think, on some pressing issues. That brings me to the question, why the topic on sustainable collaboration for sustainability and why now? So what we see in general, that there are a lot of complex social, economic, environmental problems in an interconnected world. And the sustainable UN Sustainability Development Goals was is an expression of that. Also, the hope that through collaboration we can make progress in solving these problems. Goal number 17, Partnership for the Goals, expresses that. But we also see that these interorganizational collaborations add complexity and have an impact on the sovereignty and autonomy of organizations. We see sort of a backlash even to that, that from countries down to organizations, they worry about the dependencies on others. They worry to be blackmailed or too exposed to risks. So we think it is necessary to reevaluate some of our assumptions. In addition, the literature on, let's say, multi-party collaborations is still quite fragmented. There are multiple concepts from purpose-oriented networks, value chain, cross-sector collaborations, meta-organizations, multi-stakeholder partnerships. But in principle, they try to find answers on similar questions, namely, how can multiple organizations work together to solve problems that none of them could do individually, and do that in an efficient, effective, and sustainable way. And this is what the think tank is about. We would like to, in terms of the Sustainable Development Goals, focus on the ones that you see here on the slide. So the SDG 3, good health and well-being, 11, sustainable cities and communities, SDG 12, responsible consumption and production, SDG 13, climate and energy transition, and SDG 15 on protecting, restoring, and promoting biodiversity and ecosystems. But this is a focus. This is not exclusive. If you work on other SDGs or other problems, that's also fine. And we play around a bit with this sustainability concept that we want to make progress in understanding what makes multi-organizational collaborations effective, efficient, and sustainable, right? Because many of them, as we know from literature, or actually the majority of them, fail or are not effective. So we think we also have to make progress in that, because many people also get disappointed that they cannot live up to their promises. And so we can look at conditions and consequences for that on the governance and roles, especially also the legal context informs. We feel that the discussion, for example, in the colleagues that are in law and in finance, accounting, that's pretty much detached from a lot of research in organization management, political science, and other disciplines. Then questions, what makes them actually sustainable? What makes them accountability? How should accountability be applied? And important also in a public sector context, these are instruments to solve complex societal problems, but we don't want them to be technocratic instruments where citizens don't have a say. So how can we actually include citizens and their interests and voices in that? So that is a sort of a short summary of the focus. So are there any questions in terms of the content? I don't see any hands. If I miss a hand, then just start speaking. Yeah, Petri?
Okay, thanks. I'm Petri Mäntysaari from Hanken. Why so many SDGs? So if you want to facilitate multidisciplinary cooperation, I think it might be a better idea to focus on something more particular, more specific. So
yeah, that is a good
SDGs?
Good
that
question.
was number one. Then
yeah.
question number two would be, well, are you more interested in studying how to solve problems or how to cooperate, how to organize things? Because it's a major difference.
Yeah. So the question to my answer to your first question is, I would say if you want to force me or us to focus on one goal, then I would say we focus on goal 17, right? So basically on the collaboration part. So the idea is that we use collaboration. That's sort of very often the idea in the literature, that we use collaboration to make progress towards these goals. There's a long-standing discussion whether we can actually solve these issues, right? Because some of them are wicked problems, and in the wicked problems literature, for example, the idea is more of coping than solving. But we really depart from the idea of how can organizations, and here especially the focus is on multi-party collaboration, so not dyadic, because that's a different kind of animal, so to speak. How can they make progress in tackling these problems, if not solving them? That's the focus.
Yeah, if I may, Georg, that's a good point, Petri. So I think to your question, we are probably looking more at the tool of, or at the mechanism of interorganizational collaboration rather than any of the specific SDGs, which are more functional or more sectorial in their approach. And this had to do also not only because of our interest, but also not to close out too much, or to have enough room for different scholars coming from different sectoral, let's say, knowledge, being able to join the consortium or the think tank. So.
Thanks for that question, Petri. Other questions? No, then we go on. James.
Great, thank you, Jörg. Welcome everybody again. My name's James Small. I'm from Tilburg University. I'm situated in the Department of Strategy and Entrepreneurship here, but I have a very deep interest in the interconnection between sustainability and entrepreneurship as a topic for research and teaching. So I find this a very interesting topic that we're going to be hosting here in Tilburg quite soon. You might also be asking yourself, well, what is a think tank? I'm here as part of the team that helps to organise for the Engage.eu project, this specific format of interaction. We've been organising these for several years now, and how the think tank differs from possibly other types of forums that you might come to share your research is, excuse me, I have a bit of a cold today, my voice is a little bit strange. But the difference is this is not a conference, and it's not a seminar in the sense that we're inviting you to come and update us on your current research and to review that and to maybe assist each other towards publication. The idea is that these think tanks are a place, a space, and some time in which we can come together for innovative idea and creation of new research topics. And it's about future. It's about the future. So it's not about the past research that you've engaged in. It's about how to define new and interesting topics for research and to develop new research questions and then to cooperate on that together and to build a community around that. And so that's why it's a little bit of a different format than possibly we see often in academia. Jörg, if you could maybe just go to the next slide, please. So what do we try to achieve with this? Well, we try to achieve that you become successful, of course, in your research projects, but that we're actually trying to bring together. And this is also one of the reasons why, possibly to speak to the question from Petri, is that there are a number of different SGIs identified here, because we want to be in these approaches interdisciplinary and cross-subject. And so by having a diversity of scholars coming from different areas of expertise, we want to encourage that interdisciplinary approach, both methodologically and in terms of the other areas. So we want to bring people together and have them, during this time at which they share here, the space and time to develop some interesting new research questions connected to these important topics. And we want to build a community, and that's part of the Engaged.eu overall goal, is to try to find interesting topics related to sustainability or to societal challenges, and that we can develop a community of scholars from the network that will not only sort of come together and develop these ideas, but also continue beyond the think tank as a community and as a network to hopefully publish together and to look for grant applications and so forth and so forth. So how is it different from some of the formats we have at the moment? Well, really because we're hoping that this is an opportunity for you to have the time and the interaction with scholars that you might not necessarily interact with usually, to develop new themes for the future rather than looking at the past. So I'm not sure if you would have any questions about that, but at this point, if not, I can hand back to Jörg for an overview of our preliminary agenda for this activity in January of next year.
So
Marco, you've raised your hand. I wonder if it's
Marco, go ahead.
I just wanted to ask. I'm new to this kind of think tanks, but what is the expected outcome of this 4 days meeting? So, what are we required to do? What are we required to do at the end of those 4 days? Let's say.
Yes, Jörg, would you like me to take that, or would you like to?
Yeah, you can take that, and I can complement.
Yeah. So the expectation or aim would be that during the time that you're here, you define a concrete project, a research question, you identify where you might be able to collect your data from, and at the end of it, you have identified people that you would like to work with in order to move forward. And hopefully, that means that the outcome can be something that you determine yourself. If you'd like to be working then on a policy paper or on a publication, or if you'd like to collect people around a particular topic that you would like to develop and then use that as the springboard for a grant application. So the outcome is that we facilitate that you have an opportunity to come to a new research project or extend your existing research with new colleagues from the Alliance and agree yourselves then, but agree a concrete outcome, a particular kind of project that you would like to work on afterwards. So Marco, is that an answer to your question? Is there something else that you need clarification on maybe?
Sorry. Okay. Yes. Thank you. Thank you for the answer. I still have to figure out what can be done, but thank you.
So Marco, it can be. So maybe let me ask it to you.
Yeah.
How would you like to use this opportunity for your own research topics and for this? What would you like to achieve at the end of the session?
I don't know. I'm a mathematician, so usually I don't work directly to applied problems. So I think this could be a good opportunity. I work in cooperative game theory in fair division, which in principle are topics that could be applied to this sort of to these topics.
Yeah.
But going from theory to practice, usually it's a long journey. So this is what challenges me, but this is also what worries me, let's say.
Well, maybe we should just stick with the challenge and let the worry be resolved by actually the participation in it. And it might be a journey that you can take by being on this particular journey with the others. So not knowing what the outcome is going to be is not a reason for not to participate, I would suggest.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks. The process will be as follows. The deadline for application is May 15th. Then there will be a selection, so you know whether you will be selected by mid-June. We will have an online session in October for about 2 to 3 hours with the participants then. That should help us getting to know each other better. Also getting back to Marco's question, already get an idea what's everybody's interest. Have a discussion on fit of topics and finalizing the program. We will have a draft ready by then, but there will be room also for the interests of participants, because it should facilitate the participants in the end. Then in November, there will be a second online session where we already want to form subgroups so we can really hit the ground running when everybody comes to Tilburg, developing potential topics so people can already prepare, maybe share some literature, create some common ground, right? So you can come prepared. And we will also already see then what kind of funding opportunities there might be that different subgroups might want to pursue. And then we hope to welcome everybody from January 15th to 12th, from Monday, January 12th to the 15th here in Tilburg. So the very preliminary program, and please let me emphasize very preliminary, looks as follows. What is not preliminary is the sort of start and end. So basically, if you decide to apply, that you already know if you are accepted. It will start on Monday the 12th. After lunch, or with lunch, so around 12:30. So in Europe, everybody should be able to travel on that Monday, the 12th. And we get to the travel logistics in a bit. Then there will be a first opening keynote by Patrick Kenis, one of the experts on interorganizational networks. We will have a welcome dinner, some tour in Tilburg. Then we want to have a second keynote, and then start working in subgroups. So that was also Marco's question. So then, for example, if there's subgroups where you would like to combine game theory to these kind of multi-organizational arrangements, right? Then you can have that subgroup and work basically for 3.5 days to develop a project or a research proposal. Then in the afternoon on Tuesday, we either plan a site visit here to an ecosystem collaboration here in the neighborhood, or have a hybrid engagement session with engaged partners. So each of our institutions has societal partners, and we could, for example, think of bringing together people from multiple societal partners like municipalities, companies that are struggling with these kind of collaboration questions, right? And also pick up their perspectives and their problem analysis and use that in our further discussions. So Wednesday would be 2.5 days work in subgroups and potentially a third keynote. And then on the Thursday morning, we will exchange the ideas, present what we have achieved so far, discuss that in the plenary session, and then on Thursday afternoon, you will be able to return home. So for your time planning, if you want to participate, you have to calculate to invest in that 4 days from Monday through Thursday. So what do we expect from you? You should be here in Tilburg for the duration of the think tank. So everybody should be here really in physical presence for the full program. So we really would like you to focus and not combine this with other activities. Have the intention to continue with the collaboration after the think tank in the form of workshops, joint publications, funding applications, research projects, whatever you decide on. And there's the engaged research community that we would also like you to join, because part of the think tanks in general is to build research communities around certain topics within Engage. The logistics is so we will do this here in Tilburg. Tilburg is about a 220,000 inhabitant cities in the south of the Netherlands. You see here our central train station. The airport for that is either Eindhoven, which is about half hour away, or Schiphol, Amsterdam, which is about 1.5 hours away, both reachable by train and bus. So pretty convenient to get here. We have reserved hotel rooms in a nearby hotel, very nice in the woods, from Monday through Thursday. If you're selected, we would like to ask you to reserve the room, but you will receive more information then about this by July 1st, because we have now reserved all the rooms and the hotel wants then the reservation to be confirmed. So in terms of the financing, the plan is from the Engage framework that about 3 to 4 colleagues will be selected per partner, and your travel and accommodation will be financed through Engage funds through your home institution. So then, James, you can say a bit more about the application.
Right, thank you, Jörg, indeed. So this information session, hopefully it helps you to decide that you would like to participate in our event, the think tank, in January of next year. To complete the process, you are being requested to provide us with some additional information to register. Those of you who will have seen the call document that you can see on this slide, there are links within the call document to take you to a place in the community platform where you can register. Alternatively, if you visit the Engage homepage, that's where you might well already have picked up on or seen the call document. And there on that page also, there are links for the registration for the actual event itself, as for the actual activities. So if there's any questions or clarifications, or are there any challenges finding the information that you're looking for, then please reach out to us. It's a fairly straightforward process, I think, in terms of the actual information that we're actually collecting from you. The one thing to point out is that indeed we ask you to send a reasonably small amount of information to your local coordinator. The list of people that you need to contact is provided in the document and on the website as well. You can reach out to them, again, as Jörg mentioned, in terms of funding for this activity. They can provide you with more clarity as to how to apply for, how to get the funding for travel and accommodation organised. So they're the same people that you can reach out to for that information as for as questions related to the think tank, and those are the people that you should send your brief CV to as well. So hopefully this is clear. I'm not sure, are there any questions about the application process or otherwise?
Yeah,
hello, Job.
Yeah, so thank you. So just to clarify, so you say ask the coordinator of the sending university for the funding. Is that an application, or is that just a guaranteed funding with just the whole process behind it?
So guaranteed, I'm very reluctant to use the word guarantee. There's always some kind of exception required or some kind of consideration, but the process is that indeed you can reach out to your institutional coordinator, and they can tell you about the process for getting approvals for your travel and accommodation costs.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Alessio, you have a question, I think.
Yes. One point regarding the list of publications to be submitted. Are we required to select the publications having specific attachment, specific focus on the SDGs topics, or are we maybe required to select publications which evidence a collaboration with other colleagues, with other professors or researchers in the past?
Good question. Maybe would you like to pick up on that? I mean, I think that the idea here is that we can get an overview of your fit, for this, in the sense that have you already demonstrated you're interested in these topics and how you could be matched up with possibly other colleagues? But Jörg, I'm not sure if you have something to add.
Yeah, I think what I would do is basically say send a list that starts with your publications that you think relate to the call the best, and then list the others below, sort of more as a capability, capacity, reputation kind of indication.
Oh, okay.
Sure. Maybe if you could go on to the next slide, please.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of information here. This information is available in the call document. We just wanted to mention briefly, indeed, that there is a process as such to kind of complete here. We're really looking to establish a team of people who have a good fit, but also there's a very interdisciplinary approach. A committee will look at these applications. It sounds very formal here. The word selection sounds rather too formal for that in that regard. But we are interested in making sure that people who are coming to the think tank will be able to help themselves to find the right and new projects. The deadline for application for the think tank is May 15. That's already been announced. Once we have all of those applications, there is a process to go through to evaluate them and to discuss them with the alliance partners, and then we will provide you with the outcome of that process by Tuesday, the 1st of July. Yeah, so you know well in advance about your participation in the events in October and November of this year, and a long time in advance, obviously, for your participation in the actual think tank. So hopefully this timeline is quite clear for everybody. I just wonder also, are there any questions regarding that part of the process? No, but just very straightforward, I hope, and we hope to see as many as possible applications that are arriving in our mailbox after this activity. But I think I'll hand you back to Jörg now.
So then this is the end of the presentation. So are there any questions about any of the issues that we discussed? Yeah, Alessio?
Yeah, just one point. I think that publication in English language are preferred compared to our native language. In my case is Italian language. Or is there a specific or is the same? I mean,
I would list everything. Whether it's Italian or German or French or Finnish or whatever.
Okay.
Right? Because you thought about this, you wrote about this, and we just assume that you will be able to contribute that in English, right? So the language will be English, but actually, I think one of the really added values of Engage is that we bring in our different European perspectives, different countries' perspectives, right? And if you have worked on practical problems, for example, you also publish that in your native language to reach a country audience. So that is just fine.
Okay, and one more additional point. Is there any preference in respect of the journal on which the article, for instance, has been published? So A-class journals are considered better than other journals, etc., etc.?
Well, I would say, I mean, in principle, we know there are better journals and let's say not so good journals, journals that have a more rigorous review process. So if you want to indicate that what are regarded as top journals in your field, you are free to do that.
Okay. Thank you.
Now, there are a couple more slides. I'm not sure if the next slide is about questions, in case there still are any.
Yeah. Yeah, Petri.
Yes, thank you. I think cooperation would be more fruitful if you've got a shared theoretical frame of reference. So what's your default discipline? You also mentioned a special issue in a journal. So what journal are you thinking about? So that would be my default frame of reference then.
Yeah, I disagree. I mean, the idea of the think tanks is especially the interdisciplinary approach. We come from different disciplines. We work with different theoretical perspectives. We have different journals in our field. And as we form the subgroups, this has to be discussed, right? But I mean, I've been working in interdisciplinary projects, and it's a negotiation, but sometimes you can get out 2 or 3 articles out of a collaboration project, right? And then the framing and the perspective is more in the one field, and you publish it there, and sometimes in the other. So that's my experience.
Just to add on to that, so I think some of the things that were mentioned as results of this process, so a collaboration consortia for a project application, for example. So in the EU projects, they often emphasize interdisciplinarity as well. So I think that's a very important part of this, that if we can gather a group from different fields and make a project application, so that can be also one target.
And I mean, for me personally, I am a social scientist, organization management scholars. But if we have colleagues from law, right, who would think about legal aspects of these multi-organizational collaborations, and I would have a publication in a law journal, I would be really excited about this, right? Bringing sort of my knowledge to the discussion on, for example, different legal forms, legal provisions to organize these things. Other questions?
Can I ask a very short question? How many participants are we talking about?
So,
what do you expect?
Well, there is a maximum amount. So each partner can send around 3 to 4. We are currently 10 partners in the Engage Alliance. So that means we have a maximum of 40 participants plus the 4 conveners. So we end up with a maximum of 45. Previous think tanks, but correct me, James, I think had around 20, 25. So I think that's probably where we would look between 25, 40, right? So in the, let's say, lower 30s is probably the most likely. So yeah, we discussed a long time the sort of the time period, right? And January 12 to 15 seems outside of the vacations, but we are also aware that different Engage partners have different academic calendars. So it also depends, right, what is convenient for the different colleagues from the different partners.
And how many subgroups are you thinking of then?
That I think depends who applies and is selected, right? And this has also been an organic process. So we will use the 2 online meetings for that, right? We also would like we have to submit something in terms of your research interest before the first online meeting. So everybody can review that. And sort of then through these 2 meetings and the time in between, hopefully we'll be able to form subgroups. But I would say a subgroup should not have less than 3 or 4 colleagues, right? And probably not more than 5 or 6, because otherwise it gets too cumbersome. So then you can do the math where we want.
Yeah. Thank you.
But I mean, I see this as an organic and dynamic process, right? So if we form these subgroups, and during the time here in Tilburg, some colleague says, "Oh, I sort of misunderstood that. I want to switch." Right? I would say this is possible, right? I mean, we are not sort of an authoritarian kind of governance structure, right? It's really meant as an organic, dynamic, bottom-up process to bring people together to do exciting and interesting things together.
I think the 4 of us convening this haven't done this before, so it's also a learning process for all of us. But I hope we can bring together people from different walks of life. So a game theorist, a supply chain expert, perhaps an expert on some of the sectoral issues that we're dealing with, and build something from that. And we'll see how it goes. So I think also the selection part, correct me if I'm wrong, Georg and Kaisa and James, is more looking at fit rather than any type of evaluation of the person applying, right?
Yeah, there's an Angel, that is interesting indeed to point out. The emphasis is on that. Yeah. Enthusiasm is also, and willingness, yeah, to kind of see this as an interesting topic, I think is part of that. And so that would probably, I mean, those kinds of attributes are probably more important than the journal in which you've published it recently. Yeah. We do have one last slide, which, if there are no further questions, which is a prompt for our community, for people to join our community. Those of you who haven't already participated in the research community or looked at the platform, we'd be very happy if you went there and sort of registered and signed up. We will be using this platform to help to organise the research activities during and after the think tank. And so the earlier you're a member of it, the better you can benefit from some of the interactions and some of the other things that we're doing with Engage in the meantime, I think. Yeah. Alessio, so I see your hand is up.
Sorry, one last question, very, very quick. After the filing of the submission of our application, are we expected to take part in a selection process with interviews or something like this before July, or is the selection based only on the CV and publications? The second one, I understand.
Paper only, yeah.
Paper only. Okay, thank you.
Any other issues? If you still have some questions, please feel free to reach out to me, to James, or your local institutional coordinator, if it's about funding issues or how that is organized. And then we'll be more than happy to answer them. So the last call for the last questions. No? Then I thank you all for participating. I hope we could raise some interest, make some of you enthusiastic, if not very enthusiastic, and then I hope to get applications, and hope to see some of you first in the online sessions in the fall, and then in January here in Tilburg. Thanks for joining, and have a great day, and